Let's analyze a deal on this episode of Investing in Bryan and College Station, Texas, your go-to channel for growing your wealth through real estate in my favorite towns of Bryan and College Station, Texas. Today's episode is all about how I analyze a deal using the BiggerPockets calculator. I'm going to break down exactly what I look for, what I like to see in a deal, and we're going to use an actual example of a house currently listed on the market. At the very end, I'll tell you what I would pay for this house. Please like, subscribe, and enjoy this video. All right, guys, let's jump right into an analysis. I've already got a property in mind, so let's get started. We're looking at 2020 Mountain Wind Loop. I didn't pick the street name. It is what it is. But this is a great listing, actually listed by Miss Sherry over at ClickPoint Realty. A wonderful real estate agent, and she's got a great listing here. So why did I pick Mountain Wind Loop? Well, specifically, what I was initially looking for was something that was close to the 1% rule. If you're not familiar with the 1% rule, it says that a property should rent for 1% of the purchase price. Here in Bryan and College Station, we know that a single-family house will rent for somewhere between $1,600 to $2,800, $3,000 a month. So if we're in the low $200,000 range for a purchase price, then we are probably pretty close to the 1% rule. So I've got a great house here listed at $229,000. That should be close to the 2%, that should be close to the 1% rule. Let's jump in and find out how the analysis looks. Now keep in mind, this is going to be an initial analysis. This is the analysis I would do when a property hits the market. I'm going off of pictures and what I know about the market. I have yet to walk it. I have yet to call my real estate agent to find some of the finer tuned details, but this will get you a really good idea if a property is worth investigating even further. So we're looking at Mountain Wind Loop here. It is in the Autumn Lake neighborhood. That's a great location. I'll show you that on a map here shortly. Estimated payment $1,673. We are not going to use that. We're going to use a more in-depth analysis. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, just shy of 1,200 square feet. Now that's important because I know in this neighborhood and a lot of the rentals in Bryan and College Station average between 1,500 and 1,800 square feet. So this is on the smaller side, and that will affect, of course, our rent rates. Looks like it does have granite countertops, 2-car garage. I like those things there. We can read through this. I usually don't put a lot of weight on the description given by the real estate agent because it's usually ChatGPT created and a little fluffy for my liking. I will take note of a few things here. Curb appeal, new garage door, that's good. Laminate flooring, granite countertops, fenced backyard. 5.7 miles from Kyle Field. That's a big deal. If you guys don't know what Kyle Field is, that means that you're clearly not an Aggie. Kyle Field is where Texas A&M plays football. That's their stadium. Holds well over 100,000 people and is a big attraction here in Bryan College Station, specifically if you're going to do short-term rentals. In this case, we're going to analyze this as a long-term rental. All right, it's been on the market for 31 days. Single family. Estimated taxes, $4,200. Now we're on homes.com. They're pulling that off the MLS, but usually that's about a year out of date. And with the way that we've seen houses appreciate, I expect the actual property tax to be higher. So we'll refine that number in the actual analysis. Built in 2008, and we got $21 a month in HOA fees. The rest of the stuff is kind of good to know. Privacy fence, 6,000 square foot. Kind of a smaller lot, but not really a big deal. Cool, let's jump into the pictures. So for starters, exterior looks like it's in pretty good shape. All right, pantry, nothing really to see there. There's that granite countertops we were talking about. Looks like the ceilings are pretty tall. Those are not your standard 8-foot ceilings, so they are taller. I like that. Flooring, we'll see. It's hard to tell in the grainy pictures here. Slightly outdated, but not horrible. I might do some updating to the cabinets, give it some more color. Tile floor, dated, but looks like it's in good condition, so I'll probably end up leaving that. I like the soaking tub and shower. Toilet, you'll notice that there's plastic over the toilet. That's because this is actually a VA foreclosed house. So technically it's owned by the Department of Veteran Affairs. And that's just one of the things they do when they foreclose on a house. It's part of the winterizing process, so they don't have burst pipes in the winter. Walk-in closet, more of the master. Laundry room, more tile. Second bathroom. I don't love the one-piece tub shower surround, but as long as it's in good condition, it's good enough for rental at this price point. More floors in the 2 bedrooms. There's your garage, living room area, kitchen. All right, so obviously I'm going to focus on a kitchen. That's where a lot of my money ends up going if I'm going to do any kind of updates or rehab. It looks like it's a little bit beat up here in the cabinetry. Granite looks good. I like the sink. Appliances are very low-end, basic grade renter. I might upgrade those. What that'll do is help offset the fact that it is a small house. So as long as it's small and cute, we can get pretty good rents. And I'll probably try to get rid of this light. This is really dated, and you can replace these lights with the what do they call them, waffle lights or whatever. The LED flush mount lights that are a lot nicer. Exterior. Everything looks good. You got gutters. Grass looks good. Backyard. There's your privacy fence. It looks older, but as long as it's in good condition, I think we can probably work with it. All right, and I talked to you about the location, why I like it. Let's zoom out, and then we'll zoom in. So for starters, here's Texas A&M. So for students traveling to A&M, you're about 10 minutes away. That's a really good spot. This whole neighborhood I'm a big fan of. If you're familiar with Bryan-College Station, this is Villa Maria here. So a great main road, HEB right here, Walmart and Chick-fil-A here. You've got the Traditions neighborhood, all $1 million houses just across the street. That's good. Access to Highway 47, which of course takes you to Rellis, eventually out towards Austin if you head in that direction. And you're also not far from the airport. So really solid location. Here's downtown Bryan. Fairly easy access there too. I'm a big fan of what they're doing in downtown Bryan. So we zoom in further. Again, you got the shopping center here really close. There's a gym over this way as well. Edgewater Park in the neighborhood is a really nice park. There's some walking trails over here as well. So really overall a great location, very convenient to a lot of things in town, and that's going to help our rental rates. So we'll get back out of this bad boy, back to the house here. The last thing we could have done. Stand by. You can always go street view. Okay. So the pictures, obviously, they're going to look a lot nicer, but it looks pretty good. Houses on the street are nice. Again, I know this neighborhood pretty well. Houses are usually well maintained. Owners have high pride in their houses. I like that. Renters will feel like they're in an established neighborhood with folks who care about where they live, nice neighbors, things like that. So that's good to go. So let's jump to my favorite website. I am not affiliated with BiggerPockets, but it is the website that literally jumped off my real estate investing career, and I owe a lot of my success and my portfolio growth to this website. They've got podcasts, YouTube videos, a forum, but my favorite is their calculators. You can see they've got everything from Airbnb to flips, but we're just going to do basic long-term investment property. That's what I do. I do long-term buy and hold investments. So we are going to start a report. So we're going to run through this entire report, and we're going to run the numbers based on the asking price. At the end of the video, you're going to see exactly what I would pay for this house to hit the metrics I want to get for my portfolio. All right, so we'll start here with the address, 2020 Mountain Wind Loop. Gotta love some of these street names. All right, so it's importing data for us. That's helpful, but we're going to verify it. Property features, you can put stuff in here. Square footage, you could make notes. You know, outdated cabinets, needs new flooring, you know, kind of whatever else about it in the description to help remind you. You can also print out these reports, particularly if you're a pro member. So that's good if you're going to share this with a partner or a bank to have some description in there. Purchase price, right now they're asking $229. Of course, we're going to refine that and figure out what I would actually pay for the house based on my metrics. Closing cost, we'll call it about $5,000. Of course, you can break that down even further. A real estate agent or a title company will be able to help you refine that. Also, your lender can give you some information there. I always click that I'll be rehabbing a property when I'm doing analysis. The reason is I've yet to buy a property or have a client buy a property that didn't need some level of TLC, So we're going to assume that this property does. And in fact, I've got a few ideas in mind. After repair value, we're going to put it at $230,000. This is something that I would probably refine as we go into the process. I'd ask my agent to double check that number for me. In this case, I'm the agent, so I would jump in and run some comps. Repair cost. So I like the fact that here on BiggerPockets, you can do a breakdown, kind of itemize what you're going to do. So let's say paint. I'll probably do flooring. I like to upgrade flooring and paint in a lot of my units. No need for electrical, landscaping, septic, foundation, decks, cabinets. I might paint them. Plumbing, carpentry, windows, doors, HVAC permits. And then I'll do custom. I usually do like an other category. So let's assume that I can get it painted for $1,500. Let's assume my flooring, let's see here, $4 a square foot times 1,200 square feet, so $4,800. I'm going to get the cabinets kind of fixed up and painted. That might cost me, we'll call it $1,500. And then $500 other if I want to upgrade some of the light fixtures or stuff like that. There's always other things that creep up. So you can see about $8,000 in total quote-unquote rehab. And really, that's a heavy turn. I call that a heavy turn, meaning a property that has not been not given any love for a while. Maybe you've had 3 or 4 turns. You've done the basic stuff, cleaned it, got it ready for the new tenants. But now it's time to go in there, do a full paint, do a full flooring, upgrade the cabinets, at least paint them, kind of whatever. This right here, very, very important. Pay attention to this. The BiggerPockets calculator is going to default you to 2% appreciation. Now, because I'm a real estate agent, I've been doing the research here in Bryan and College Station. I know for a fact that the median home price has appreciated over 4.5% on average for the last 30 years. So I feel confident, because I'm a long-term investor, at 4%. Meaning if I hold this house for at least 10 years, I'm pretty dang sure I'll see a 4% on average return on that price, particularly in a neighborhood, like I said, based on this location, the quality of the homes. All right, 20% down sounds about right. Right now, you're seeing about a 7% interest. I'm recording this in June of 2024. I hope you're watching this in the future, and I hope interest rates are lower than that. And we're doing this for 30 years. Points charged. So that's if your lender is going to charge you points. For the most part, that $5,000 I put in the closing cost includes points charged. So you can leave that blank. You can write that in there. If you've got questions about any of this stuff, what's great is you just click on the little blue link here, and it'll break down exactly what that box means to help you along the way. Of course, you can always call your local real estate agent, investor-friendly agent. Gross monthly income. It's another great feature by BiggerPockets. They have a median rent amount, and they have it at $2,000. Their confidence is very high. But what they don't necessarily know is the size of the property. And I said that takes, that's a big factor. So if I click here to their link, again, $2,000, they'll kind of give you, hey, bottom 25% and low end $1,750. Looks like, how many houses do they have on this? I don't know if it says. Anyway, they took a bunch of houses in the neighborhood. You can see this is all in the local area. What I like to point out is this is 1,400 square feet. That's 15. That's 15. That's almost 2,000 square feet, 16. So you can see a lot of these houses are considerably larger. I want to be on the conservative side. Here's $2,000 for a 1,200 square foot. For a 1,300 square foot, $1,800. 1,700. 1,500 square feet, 1,300 square feet. So I would feel more comfortable if we drop that rent rate down a little bit. So I'm going to go with $1,950. So we'll go a little bit on the lower side. I think I can fill it at $2,000. I'd probably even list it at $21, but for analysis, let's do $1,950. Income growth, again, they set it at 2%. That's kind of what inflation would be. I usually throw in 3%. It's up to you how conservative you want to be on your numbers. Property taxes. Okay, I don't take this for granted for the property taxes, especially with how much we've seen the appraisal district increase the value on houses just because we've seen a lot of appreciation lately. So I go to the Brazos CAD, and this is their property search. and I can type in 2020 Mountain. So let's see here. 2020 Mountain Loop. You can see Secretary of Veteran Affairs. That's because it was foreclosed on. So it is a bank-owned property, also known as REO, sold property. And we're looking right here. See, they've got the assessed value at $240,000, whereas last year, here's the year prior. So I'm going to go ahead, and it was capped, right? Because it was owner occupied, so there was a cap to it, and then it jumped to 241. So I'm going to assume that the tax rate at 2% times 241, we're going to be paying closer to $5,000 a year in taxes. So I'll put that right there. Now, here's the other thing I want to point out. We are on the Brazos CAD, and I'll be honest with you guys, the CAD, the County Appraisal District, has done a really good job at appraising houses. And I think this is actually a pretty good after repair value. So as an agent, somebody who knows this neighborhood really well, I've looked into this quite a lot in terms of comparing houses, appraises, and the appraised value on the CAD. I think 240 is a pretty good number. So I'm going to be bold here, guys. I'm going to go up to our after repair value, and I'm going to say 241. Argue with me in the comments. That's fine. That's what I'm putting down for this analysis. And again, this is as if I was buying it. So these decisions I'm making. Insurance, $1,200 a month. It might be kind of low. We haven't seen crazy insurance rates here in Bryan-College Station. You got to watch out for some flood zone, stuff like that. But $1,200 is a good rough estimate. My next contact would be to my insurance broker to get that fine-tuned. But for a initial estimate, that works for small single-family houses like we have here. $100 a month, 5% usually works. Vacancy, 5% is what we're seeing in the market. Capital expenditures, another one that you might not be familiar with. So click on the little link here. It's going to tell you this is for capital expenditures. The large, less than frequent improvements done to a property, such as roofs, parking lots, sidings, or appliances. Cool. Now we know what that is. That's going to be some savings account that we'll put aside if we got to replace the roof or redo the driveway, something like that. Management fees, my go-to. And again, this might be a little controversy. A lot of people say put in 10% even if you self-manage. I self-manage and plan on self-managing for a very long time, so I put in 5%. That's the cost that it costs me to self-manage, but hire out things like if I want somebody else to list it for me or the advertising cost to get it listed, some of the software that I use. So that usually covers that. If you are going to hire a property management, I would recommend 10%. We're going to save ourselves $100 a month and go at 5%. Now in Bryan-College Station, if it's a single family house, you're going to pass off all the utilities and the lawn care to the tenant. Now, if it's a duplex or fourplex, you'll probably take on lawn care. Expect that to be $120 to $150 a month. And if you are buying an older 80s built duplex or fourplex, you're likely going to be paying the water bill as the landlord. The electricity is usually sub-metered. But in this case, none of those apply, and I don't know why this is wrong. That should be $21 a month, according to homes.com. Cool. You can also jump in here and further adjust how fast the expenses will increase. We'll do 2.5%. And then the cost to sell it. For me, it's usually about 6% to sell. We'll call it 7%. Finish the analysis. Boom. So the BiggerPockets calculator is going to spit it out. The first number you're going to focus on is the monthly cash flow. That is day one, your income, your cash on cash return. And so I usually look here at the monthly cash flow and then the 5-year annualized return. We will talk more about those numbers here shortly, but just to give you an idea of what BiggerPockets provides, you've got rental income. I can adjust this if I think that there's some adjustments there. I can, pay extra expenses, adjust my vacancies. Purchase price is a big one. That's what we're going to focus on here shortly, what I would pay for the house. But if you wanted to say, oh, what if I bought down the interest rate? You can toggle these as required. Here's your monthly breakdown. Those are all of the expenses we already went over. And then if you want to learn more about kind of cap rates, NOI, 50% rule, all that information, you just click on the little links here. It'll tell you more about it. The last thing I focus on is this graph and table at the bottom. What I usually like to look at is year 5, my profit if sold, my annualized return. Again, we saw that at the top. And then my cash flow. So this says that I really probably wouldn't cash flow until somewhere between year 5 and 10. That's not great. And we're just shy of a double-digit return. Now, for me and my criteria, what I like to see is at least positive or even, a break even with all my expenses included on cash flow. And I like to see a 15% annualized return, 5-year annualized return. I always do 5 years as if I'm going to sell in 5 years, although I do never plan to sell. That's just the metric that I use. So we can play with this toggle and we can work it up and down. So we could crank it up and we could see if we paid, God forbid, $250, our 5-year annualized return goes to next to nothing. You might as well get a CD, and our cash flow is negative $300 a month. I don't like that, but let's go the other direction. So let's say we got it $5K under asking. All right, our 5-year annualized return is creeping up, and our monthly cash flow is looking a little bit better. Let's crank it down a little bit more. What if we paid $215 for it? 14% cash flow and $125 a month. And to be honest, guys, anything under $100 a month in terms of like negative cash flow, I consider that break even. Again, these are my metrics and how I analyze properties. So we'll stop right there. I've got over a 15% annualized return and I'm under negative $100 a month. I consider this a break-even property. By year 5, I'm positive cash flow. And my purchase price, $210,000. I would need $55,000 to make this deal happen. And honestly, guys, this is a pretty damn good deal. I like that a lot. 210, we're not all that off from their current asking price, particularly in this environment. Things are pretty slow. There's more negotiating room. Shoot, that's not too bad. You put $8,000 into it. It's going to be a great house. It's in a great condition on the exterior, at least from what I see in the pictures. And at the end of that 5-year period, I'd make $60,000 if I sold it. I'm pretty happy with that, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. So, kind of a base hit, but a addition to my portfolio if I could get it for $210,000. The last thing that I'm going to share with you guys right here, let's put this back at their asking price. You could also do things like buy down the rate. So it would cost you a little bit more in terms of like your points, but if you bought down the rate or if rates come down, let's say you got it at 6.5. And I do have investors getting 6.5 by buying down their rates. Now you're positive and you're 10%. So you're not that 15% annualized return, but you are positive monthly cash flow. You get all the benefits, tax benefits associated with owning real estate. That's not a bad deal either. And your all-in is about $60,000. So guys, that's how I analyze property. If you've got questions, if you're interested in investing in Bryan-College Station, feel free to reach out. All of my contact information is in the details below. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, you guys take it easy.